What if I told you a regional intervention in Venezuela may have crossed the line into the most dangerous great power confrontation since the Cuban Missile Crisis? Reports are emerging that Beijing has issued a 24-hour ultimatum to Washington. Release President Nicolas Maduro immediately or face what China calls consequences beyond calculation. At the same time, Chinese nuclear-capable submarines are reportedly repositioning into Atlantic waters, something not seen since the Cold War. This is no longer just about Venezuela. This is about whether nuclear-armed superpowers can compete without losing control. Stay with me, guys, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why global stability is now hanging on by a thread. Welcome back to Status Check, the channel where we break down power, pressure, and the real mechanics behind global crises without the noise. If you find value in clear, no-nonsense geopolitical analysis, subscribe now and hit the like button so this reaches more people who want facts, not fear. Now let's break this down calmly, strategically, and step by step. First, why does China care so much about Venezuela? The answer is simple: money, energy, and credibility. China has tens of billions of dollars invested in Venezuelan oil, refining, and infrastructure. These aren't just financial assets, they are strategic. Venezuela is one of the largest proven oil reserves on earth, a key node in China's long-term energy security strategy, a test case for Beijing's promise to protect partners who align with it. If American forces now control key Venezuelan energy assets, Beijing doesn't just see an economic loss, it sees a precedent, a challenge to Chinese deterrence, and a signal to the global south that Chinese backing may not be enough. That's a credibility crisis China cannot afford. Now, let's talk about the ultimatum itself. A 24-hour deadline isn't diplomacy, it's coercive signaling. It compresses decision-making time, it forces mistakes, and it raises the risk of miscalculation. This kind of language, consequences beyond calculation, is deliberately vague. That's not an accident. Strategic ambiguity allows China to deter without specifying actions, maintain escalation dominance, keep Washington guessing about the next move. In nuclear strategy, uncertainty is a weapon. Now, to the most alarming signal, submarine positioning. If confirmed, this would mark one of the first serious Chinese nuclear submarine deployments into the Atlantic, historically a US-dominated theater. This isn't about launching anything, it's about messaging. Submarines are second strike weapons. They exist to say, even if you hit us first, we can still respond. By moving them closer, China would be saying this crisis is now connected to strategic deterrence, not just Venezuela. That alone elevates the situation into great power nuclear territory. This is where everything changes. Why is this now a global test, you ask? The Venezuela crisis has become a stress test for the modern world order. Three critical questions are now in play. Can the U.S. protect its interest without triggering a wider war? Can China enforce red lines without firing a shot? Can nuclear-armed states compete in the gray zone without slipping into catastrophe? Every alliance is watching. If Washington backs down, allies question American resolve. If China follows through, markets panic and militarize, mobilize. If both misjudge the other, history reminds us how fast things can spiral. And don't overlook the economic dimension. This isn't just about bombs and submarines. China has leverage through energy markets, supply chains, debt exposure across the global south. Meanwhile, the US controls sanction systems, financial access, maritime choke points. A military clash wouldn't start with missiles. It would start with economic shockwaves, fractured alliances, and global instability. That's why this moment is so dangerous and so unprecedented. Here's the most likely short-term outcome. Back-channel negotiations, strategic de-escalation language, public toughness paired with private compromise. But the long-term damage is already done. Red lines have been tested, norms have shifted, and the threshold for future confrontation is now lower. This is exactly why status check exists. If you want calm analysis during dangerous moments, real explanation behind global power plays, and updates as this situation develops, subscribe now. Drop a comment with your take. Does Washington back down or does Beijing escalate? Because what happens next won't just shape Venezuela. It may define the next era of global power. So guys, we're asking you to check out Status Check. We are hoping for your support. This is a new channel that we're starting. Please guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. Let us hear your engagement. What do you think? As I say, does Washington back down or does Beijing escalate? And what does this mean for the global economy? What does it mean for globalization? Will China feel they can now go into Taiwan? Will Russia continue their pursuit of Ukraine and other territories? This is what we're talking about. This is an escalation and we need to talk about it. So thank you for joining. Looking forward to hearing from you. Bye.